Over the years, SFOTH has released a ton of new swords with their own mechanics and features. But we aren't here to talk about IV. We're here for Reforged. Reforged has been released for more over than a year, but in that short while, the game has made tons and tons of unique and fun swords. So how about we rank them all? We'll rate the sword based on two things: how powerful the sword is and how fun it is to use, since if we did the video purely on how powerful the sword is, then the video would be kind of lame since the answer is obvious. Let's begin with the classic 7 SFOTH swords, starting off with the Link sword, which is gonna be our average example. It has 20 slash and 30 lunge, making it an alright sword but nothing special. 5 out of 10. Next up is the Dark Heart, which has the ability to heal you after killing an enemy. The sword does 16 slash damage and 32 lunge, and it's an alright sword, slightly better than Linked, but it's not one of those swords I would use as my main. 6 out of 10. The Illumina is pretty powerful with the ability of making you lunge diagonally, and it does more damage than Linked with 20 slash and 40 lunge. And although it is very powerful as a mobility tool, you can use it as a regular sword, but do expect yourself falling off the map because you accidentally jumped while lunging. And in general, it's very fun, mainly because of the fact you can catch up to noobs quicker or ambush them from above. 9.5 out of 10. Venom Shank is next, and it's alright. It does 10 slash and 20 lunge, but it also has poison which deals 40 damage over time. But I don't personally find it OP in any way, nor do I find it as fun as the other swords, so I'll give it a rating of 6 out of 10. Next on our list is the Wind Force, and it's my personal favorite. It deals 18 slash and 36 lunge, but it has the ability to push any player far away. And unless a player has touchstone or jet boots, they are dead. Also, it is pretty funny to use, especially when they just explode. A strong 9 out of 10 from me. The Firebrand is as lame as it gets. Sure, it has the biggest hitbox out of any sword, but any other big sword like Wind Force or even Venom Shank can do the job just fine. It deals an unimpressive 15 slash and 27 lunge, and the only thing I ever use it for is to unfreeze myself from Ice Dagger. 5 out of 10. The only saving point of it is the big hitbox. Next up is Ice Dagger, and it's really pathetic. Sure, it one-shots anybody, but it has the smallest reach in the game, and even if you freeze somebody, if they have Firebrand, they can still thaw themselves even while frozen. The only really thing you can do with it is get rid of Ghostwalker users, which is pretty good, but it's about as useful as Earth Splitter or Firebrand. 3 out of 10. Finally, the last sword on our SFOTH IV list is the Ghostwalker, with the highest damage in the game, having the ability of making you fully invisible, if you get 9 kills of course. It's obvious it's the best sword in the game, damage wise, but it's just so lame. It's easy to get kills with it, but it gets so boring. 8 out of 10. Now moving to Reforged territory, we currently have 5 swords, and it is unlikely that a new permanent sword will be released. But let's get on with it. The Air Splitter is the first new sword to get added, and it is actually Dominic's favorite, and he's the owner of the game. Personally though, I find the sword to be quite lame. It's basically like Firebrand, but instead of countering ice daggers, you counter shield sphere. Plus, there's a much cooler version that I'll talk about later in the video. But for now, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Next up is the Hyacinth, and oh my god, I love it so much. The damage is high and the sound effects plus the force field for killing somebody just gives me the dopamine. I love it so much. 10 out of 10, no arguments. The third sword on our list is the Sky Dagger, and to all of you Reforged members, no, I'm not talking about that one guy, and that one guy will not influence what I think about the sword in game. With that out of the way, the dagger itself is not a weapon you use for main damage, but it's somewhat nice, being able to jump over any enemy and catch up to them if they try to run away. But the small size is what makes it not as OP as the other ones. It's still pretty fun to use though. 7 out of 10. Ancient Illumina is another movement sword which sends you vertically instead of diagonally, which is actually how the old Illumina functioned. While it is fun to use, it is not as powerful as the Illumina, but using it in fights is much less annoying than the Illumina since you won't accidentally launch yourself into the void. 9 out of 10. Speaking of the void Caller is the first sword with an active ability that forces you to use a key other than the M1. Although somewhat fun to use with an average damage, the sword depends on how well you can parry, since it is pretty easy to fail because you were either too far away or too close to the enemy. So I don't personally like using it. 6.5 out of 10. Well, I've listed the main swords in Reforged, but as you can see on the remaining time on this video, it isn't all of it. So what other swords are there in Reforged? Why, of course, the tournament swords, achieved by participating and getting anywhere from 1st place to 10th, that are always hosted in Reforged Discord server, which you should totally join. But with that, let's begin with the crescendo. Acquired if you want the first ever tournament hosted, which was a simple killstreaking tourney. And for all of you new faces, a killstreak is when you get multiple kills at once without dying or leaving the game. With 16 slash and 30 lunge, it has a big reach and Darkheart's ability to regenerate health when killing someone. Overall, it's a pretty good weapon from what it seems, and I'll be saying that a lot since I have no tourney swords except for the golden sword, which you'll see later in this video. But it is probably the biggest flex here since many of the people who won the tournament now don't even play Reforged, with the 2 people I know that have the weapon being Randel and Pumpkin. The rating for the sword will be 8 out of 10. The second tourney sword is the Sword Cane, and this time instead of a killstreaking tournament, it was a 1v1 duel where each player was put in a bracket, and if you won, you progressed, and if you lost, well, you're out. This was actually the first tournament I participated in, and of course, since I was new, I lost on the second round. Either way, this sword doesn't have any slash damage since it only lunges, dealing 22 damage, which in my opinion is kind of weak, so I'll be giving it a 4 out of 10. The Black Iron Katana is the third tournament sword on our list, and god, I want it so badly. The reason being is that in the tournament, you could only use linked with power-ups like Shadow Sphere and Touchstone. I thought it was a cool sword, so I participated and worked hard for it, getting so into it that I would not play music like I usually do and just played white noise to focus. And I almost won, but someone kicked me out of the leaderboard by 10 kills. Safe to say I took a break from sword fighting for a couple of days before I went back. I was furious about it, and my hatred will always remain. Now the sword itself isn't that good, with simple cool effects and 30 slash with 24 lunge, which makes it a bit higher than Linked, but not by that much. 6 out of 10, I want it badly. Editing UKR here. Dominic actually made another tournament where the Black Iron Katana is the main prize, and I once again participated in it, and I actually won. So that's why I have footage for it, and now I can finally rest peacefully. Thank you so much, Dom. Next up is Azure Periastron. And I didn't participate in the tournament, but the tourney was about using only Void Collar and getting the highest kill streak. The sword itself is similar to Void Collar with the same parrying mechanism, but it has bigger reach and more damage than the Void Collar, making it an 8 out of 10 in my view. The last and most recent one is the Epic Katana with 16 slash and 24 lunge. It has the ability to speed you up for a couple of seconds when lunging. It's another one of those movement swords that are not usually used as main damage, but at least it doesn't seem as annoying to use in battle than, say, Jusukar, which I will explain later on. Overall, the sword gets a 6.5 out of 10. Now, for the other tourney swords that you get by either placing first, second, or third in any tournament, they're pretty simple. The Golden Sword is a pretty good sword with a fast lunge, 30 slash and lunge damage, and has the same sparkles that Illumina has while having a cool kill effect. I have it, and it's pretty good. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. The Silver Sword is a step down from the Golden, and it has only a somewhat faster lunge with 28 slash and lunge damage, and does not have sparkles. And finally, the Bronze Sword has the same things as Silver Sword, the only difference being the fact that it does 27 slash and lunge damage instead of 28. 6.5 out of 10. Also, special inclusions for all of the Shrieking Milestone swords you get. Brigand's Blade that you get for getting a 100 kill streak gets a 5 out of 10. Nice Elder Blade gets a 6 out of 10 just because of the cool sound effects. Wooden Sword gets a 0 out of 10, I hate it. And finally, the Telemonster that you achieve for getting a ridiculous kill streak of 1000 gets a 7 out of 10. Claymore is a sword that you get for being in the top 15 donators, making it one of the most expensive swords you can quote-unquote buy, but I've never actually seen anybody use it, so it will get a 5 out of 10. Now let's move on to the Game Pass exclusive swords, and spoiler alert, most of them suck. First up is Jusukar with 24 slash and 18 lunge. Lunging the sword makes you move forward really quickly, and although it is pretty useful as a mobility tool, it is completely useless as a regular sword. Not only is it annoying to fight others with it, you'll also end up either falling off the map or flinging yourself. 4 out of 10. Next up is the Frostbrand, and just who actually uses it? No, seriously, I saw like one guy using it and that's it. The sword is expensive and it does mid damage. 5 out of 10, the worst game pass you could buy. And continuing on our mid train, we have Demon Shank, which is a sword only used by 1x cosplayers. It's just Venom Shank but with gambling. The sound effects are kind of cool though. 7 out of 10, not worth buying. The Rusty Illumina is basically the same as Ancient but with less height but more damage, with an added feature that, I am not kidding, is named Tetanus, which basically gives a small chance to do critical damage. 9 out of 10. The hammer is another one of those game passes that I only see one person using. It only slashes, or swings in this case, and does 80 damage. And honestly, I don't really think the weapon is that great, but shoutouts to Spiky for showing me the weapon and telling me that the weapon is good. Thanks Spiky, but I don't really believe it. 7 out of 10. The fencing foil seems very average. 10 slash and 30 lunge, but I think it lunges faster. Either way, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. And the last paid only items are the katanas, which deal 30 slash and 24 lunge. Not that interesting. 5.5 out of 10. Phew. Only 2 more left, and those 2 are the event source. Wrapped linked is just regular linked, but with a present decal slapped on it. Pretty lazy, but it was supposed to unwrap into something cooler. Too bad the concurrent player count dropped right as the event started. 5 out of 10. And now, the last sword on our list is the festive period. I hate that name. Periastron, a reskin of Earthsplitter. It has pretty cool sound effects. 6 out of 10. But mainly because of this. But yeah, that's all of the 34 swords in game. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you somewhere on Saturday. Also, shout out to all of the people who helped make this video possible. This includes Ruan, Randel, Shem, FR Poppy, and Snark. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you somewhere on Saturday.